As part of the Sith plan to destroy the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order, the cloners of Kamino set out to grow an army in secret to fight beside the Jedi in a coming galaxy-wide conflict. Of course, the Kaminoans based their clone army upon the genetic template of Jango Fett, who was chosen specifically by the Sith to serve as the basis for the clones. However, the Sith plot to regain control of the galaxy did not always envision a clone army comprising of human clones. Rather, Darth Plagueis had initially envisioned the clone army to consist of Yinkori clones, the turtle-like reptilian species from the planet of Yinkor, due to the benefits that they would provide the Sith in fighting a potential war against the Jedi. In this video expose, I will describe what the clone army was originally going to look like in the Sith plan, and why this original plan was changed. In a previous video, I described how the original plan of the Sith was to develop a clone army that wouldn't fight beside the Jedi, as was seen within the Clone War, but to fight against them. More than 30 years before the actual outbreak of the Clone War, and 20 years before Sifo Dyas would commission the Kaminoans to develop the clone army, Darth Sidious and Darth Plagueis established a plan that would ensure chaos and war would engulf the galaxy, eventually culminating with the demise of the Jedi and the Republic. Although the Sith understood that the Jedi would have to be destroyed from within, and made to be the enemies of peace and justice, rather than their guardians, Plagueis still proceeded with a plan that called for a clone army to assist the Sith in destroying the Jedi. And at this early point, Plagueis knew exactly what species he wanted to use for his clones, the Yinkori. For a full 2 years before Plagueis and Palpatine would cement their plans to bring warfare to the galaxy, and still roughly 34 years before the actual start of the Clone War, Plagueis was conducting his own experiments on a Yinkori criminal that was gifted to him by the Yinkor Council of Elders for Plagueis' behind-the-scenes efforts in granting Yinkor a seat in the Galactic Senate. Over these 2 years of experiments upon the Yinkori convicts midichlorians, Plagueis had a major breakthrough in being able to undermine his resolve. This was no small feat for the Dark Lord of the Sith, as Plagueis had learned that the Yinkori's resolve was actually a perpetual state of involuntary immunity to the Force, thus making the Yinkori Force-resistant. Plagueis' experiments during this period were critical in influencing the Sith Lord to choose the Yinkori as the genetic template for his clone army. Aside from the benefits related to the species being highly aggressive and militant, their resistance to the Force would make them the perfect warriors against the Jedi, and the fact that Plagueis could manipulate their midichlorians to lower their defenses and diminish their resolve meant that it may be possible to make them more compliant and likely to accept orders. With this potential available, Plagueis took his idea to the Kaminoans to initiate the process of developing a clone army consisting of Yinkori. However, although the Yinkori were the perfect warriors to fight the Jedi on paper, the realities of actually cloning them with the desired specifications Plagueis wanted was extremely difficult, if not outright impossible. Having provided the Kaminoans with the anatomical and physiological data of the Yinkori obtained by Plagueis through his experimentation, again, still more than 30 years before the start of the Clone War, the Sith Lord learned that developing a clone army of Yinkori may not be feasible. The Kaminoan scientists informed him that the violent nature inherent within the Yinkori would grossly complicate matters when it came to ensuring that the army would have the necessary amount of compliance. Although more research into the question was needed, even at this initial stage in the process, the Kaminoans were confident that they couldn't grow the Yinkori to be compliant without disturbing the signature characteristics of the species, meaning that the clone army of Yinkori may lack their natural aggression, or even worse for Plagueis' plan, their resistance to the Force. Matters were made even more difficult for the Sith Lord's plan when it was recognized that as soldiers, obedience would be necessary, not merely compliance, thereby making the cloning process even more challenging. Although the difficulties associated with cloning the Yinkori, as well as the discussions involving the benefits of cloning other species, including humans, were disastrous for Plagueis' original plan, it was not the dagger that would ultimately end the project. It was the Sith recognizing that they would be better off developing a clone army to fight with the Jedi rather than against them that would ultimately end Plagueis' plan to clone an army of Yinkori. Because the clone army would be a force that would fight on the side of the Republic and Jedi, force resistance was no longer necessary. Further, as learned by Plagueis in his earliest consultations with the Kaminoans regarding the clone army, humans proved to be the most advantageous species for the project, as they could be cloned while maintaining the delicate balance between free will, compliance, and aggression. Therefore, these factors ended the idea of the clone army consisting of Yinkori clones, and pushed it in the direction that would ultimately see the cloners of Kamino develop an army using the genetic template of Jango Fett. So there we have it, what the clone army was originally supposed to look like in the Sith plan, and why it changed. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me... forgetting the Yinkorian Jedi showdown anyway.